Stories about the impending protests seem to take the cake this morning on the front pages of the dailies. Begin with the Daily Trust. I engaged in protests, but without violence, Tinubu. FG governors intensify efforts to stop August 1 demonstration. President meets monarchs, religious leaders. DSS warns against anarchy. All of that on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. The Blueprint newspaper has a similar story. On planned August 1 protest, we won't allow extreme violence, anarchy. Tinubu, DHQ, DSS warn. Protesters target violent outcome for regime change. Subscribe to Afunaya. They want to create a state of war, says military. NSA assures governors. Afenifere TUC caution Nigerians. The front page of the Daily Independent has a similar story as well. We've identified sponsors of planned nationwide protests, according to DSS. No to protest that leads to destruction of lives, property, according to Tinubu. Military intelligence envisages it may lead to anarchy. DMO director says protesters targeting worship centers, markets, critical assets, others. MBF warns against sponsoring pro-government protesters to cause anarchy. That story is on page 29 of the Daily Independent this morning. The front page of Daily Times has a different twist to it. Nigeria's economy on path of recovery, according to Tinubu, says we will do more to meet the needs of citizens. I have no cabal or sponsors to compensate. Details on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The Vanguard newspaper, protests. No government will condone destruction of lives, property, according to Tinubu and a host of writers on the front page of the paper. Meet APC governors, monarchs in Aso Rock. Don't allow it to be hijacked, Oni tells organizers. We'll listen to youths, Ding of Abo. Listen to words of wisdom from government, Emir of Zazo. DSS identifies sponsors, warns against action. FCT unavailable for August 1 protest, according to Wiki. We're not part of August 1 protest, TUC. Shelf planned protests for sake of economy, Orji Kalu tells youths. The details continue on the inside pages of the paper. Planned protest as the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. DHQ, DSS warn against anarchy, identify sponsors. Stories on page 2 and a host of writers. The front page of the New Telegraph has this one. August 1 hardship protest. Tinubu APC governors meet traditional rulers in Aso Rock. The stories are on pages 2, 26, and 31 of the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. Front page of Nigeria News Direct. H1 review. Tinubu's government still on course to reduce food prices, lift millions out of poverty. According to Edo, dumps ways and means as FG targets FX from diaspora with issuance of $500 million security. August says 600,000 households beneficiaries of direct transfer program this week alone. Details continue on the inside pages. The Guardian newspaper, development commissions without development. Regions, citizens languish amid proliferation of political SPVs. What does that mean? The details are on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. These are the stories we have for you today.
Well, you see that most of the lead stories on the front pages this morning are dealing with the protest. But there are other stories which we mustn't miss. And there's this one right on top of the New Telegraph talking about allocation. Allocation, federal government hits brick wall over implementation of local government autonomy. You know, all of this talk around the protests seems to be blurring the conversation around the Supreme Court judgment, which was hailed and which was, many people welcomed with open arms. The question now is what is happening with that? How is implementation happening? That's the big question. So just 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago was when this judgment was given. And, there was plenty of salutation, plenty of let's say euphoria, optimism in the air as to what could happen at the grassroots level. And some people will say, well, maybe if we had this way before now, who knows? Maybe there wouldn't have been talk about a protest. You never can tell. But be that as it may, the Supreme Court did grant judgment to the Attorney General of this country, saying that local governments could receive their funds directly. And it was, I think there were some, conditions. For instance, a lot of local governments that do not have substantive chairmen could not receive their funds. So there are questions now as to what exactly is happening with implementation. Who do we speak with regards to how this judgment is being implemented? Because if you speak with a number of former local government chairmen, they will tell you it's not the first time that such a judgment was coming, but the judgment was killed on arrival because of a lack of implementation. It simply went to voicemail. And this particular judgment mustn't be allowed to go to voicemail if it has the capacity, if it has the potential to be able to turn around the fortunes of people at the grassroots. So we ask this morning, what is happening with the implementation of the Supreme Court judgment given on local government autonomy? Just in case you're curious as to what exactly I'm talking about, pick up a copy of New Telegraph. It has right there, allocation, federal government hits brick wall over implementation of local government autonomy. Maybe we should be speaking with the Minister of Finance, or whoever it is that is in charge of FAC, is whom we should be speaking with to know what exactly is going on with the implementation of that judgment.
Well, solid words, no doubt. My take this morning is a little comical, being a Friday morning, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And actually my take is Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. is out of sight. Says, yeah, the dietitian was here to remind you about, and Mr. interjects, he should look for another job. Why? Mrs. says out of sight, who needs a dietitian in this era of food scarcity? I think the message is clear. That's my take this morning, guys.
I'm speaking, quite interesting. But I think the last time they disbursed some of those allocations, they disbursed to some local governments that had conducted elections. And for those ones that had not, it was not disbursed yet. And that was just shortly before the frenzy. Local government, states suddenly started conducting several
local government elections. But while the states have now set the timetable for these local government elections, from what we gather, we understand that the Federation cannot hold on to their funds. So they must send them to somebody, but they say not the caretaker chairman, and they're going to be sending them to the secretaries of the local government. And people are saying, doesn't that defeat the purpose? So,
well, it's going to be tricky because if the law says, look, you can't give to any state that hasn't conducted local government elections. That's what it is. So where they keep the money, I don't know. No. I don't know how they do it, but you cannot give to them. So what, they set up a special account where they put all those monies that will not be in the purview of the federal government? Who knows?
If you're giving it to the secretary of the local government, some people are saying, of the local government.
Where election has not been held? That would be tantamount to giving to states.
Exactly, to the governors. That's what they're saying. But you cannot hold on to their funds. So, I don't know, it certainly will make an interesting read. I haven't read the story, but I had, interestingly, and this is me promoting hard copy now, I did have an interview yesterday with a former local government chairman who's currently in the House of Representatives. And he told me, he said, look, we're only 50% done on this job that needs to be done. That the optimism, he wants to be optimistic, but this is a real situation. This is a real half cup full situation. It can go down from there, or we'll have to work hard to take it off. But it's not yet Uhuru. We're far from Uhuru. That's it. So it's interesting that I had such a conversation yesterday, which will be airing tonight, by the way, at 8:30 p.m. And this is right there on the front page of New Telegraph.
Well, there are different interpretations to it. If the court says you can't give them those funds, is it not tantamount to saying hold on to it? Since you can't give to them, what does that mean? Well, who knows? At least we're on our way to Uhuru, if it's not yet to Uhuru. So I hope we'll get there. Other things may be equal. But staying with us, of course, we'll focus on this. Many voices about protests here and there. We'll talk about it here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.